Next up, we have a banger of a movie, Zach. I'll let you take this one away because I know you had
Let's
a chance to catch it a
go.
little bit early. I definitely want to insert the things that I was showing you earlier, if I may, over here. All of these different things that they're doing for Maestro as they're pushing the rollout, especially because of the makeup. So describe the movie, Zach, while I give
Yeah.
you the slideshow.
Okay, so Bradley Cooper returns to the director's chair for his second feature film, Maestro. It's a movie about the iconic American conductor-composer Leonard Bernstein and the loves that inspired him to make his art, and the woman he married, actress Felicia Montalegre. Maestro is a lyrical movie about complicated people in complicated relationships, and also occasionally about the music of Leonard Bernstein.
Sometimes, right?
Yeah. So Art, I'm curious what you thought of the film because I, like you, was really, really swept up by it.
I thought it was beautiful. It is boring in the sense that it's a very long biopic that you take. It takes its time to realize where it's going. Like you're saying, I'm like,
Right.
okay, we're gonna focus on the music, and I
Yeah.
think a lot of not to say boredom, but the the looseness of not knowing where the story is headed is what makes you go like, not that you're losing interest, but you're getting peaked at something, and you're like, okay, it's not really about his relationships with
Yeah.
his people. It's not the music. Okay, is it
It's a
her?
classic. I did not expect this kind of movie, and those
Yeah,
movies sometimes can feel a little bit weird to sit through because you set your expectations for a
exactly.
music biopic, and you end up getting something completely different than that.
So once you realize that it really is about their relationship, these two right here together, oh, that's when it clicked in for me. I think you have
Yeah.
some really incredible performances. I think you have, honestly, shout out to the makeup. I know that was a big thing, and we're definitely going to get a little bit deeper into that. But
Yeah.
the camera work that's done, the way that they were able to show these scenes, because a lot of it is done in that aspect ratio where it's the academy square box where most of it is very tall. There are very few scenes where they go wide because majority of it is in black and white when they're early on. It does turn into color for a little bit. Dude, I thought there were sequences in this where he embodied that performance to a degree that I find him goofy in interviews talking about how the spirit of Leonard, who I've never met, is in me. I know that he sounds goofy as can be, telling the kids of Leonard Bernstein, I almost miss your dad more than you do. But dude, there's that church scene where I felt he was possessed.
Yeah, yeah. That church scene is like just riveting, and like I honestly I put on the trailer this morning just sort of to get ready for our discussion, and almost came to tears just remembering how that scene made me feel. It is
It's
so
crazy.
cinematic, and the music is so just like really takes you on this journey, and especially going through this movie with him, like kind of it's this emotional climax for the film too. I was really, really swept up by it. You know, you mentioned how the film is shot. It's shot by Matthew Libatique, who's got a pretty wild IMDb. He's been Darren Aronofsky's go-to guy since Pi. He got an Oscar nomination for Black Swan. He's also done several films with Spike Lee, like Inside Man and Chirac. Did very commercial stuff like Straight Outta Compton, Iron Man, Venom.
Oh yeah, this guy's the goat because he did Don't
Yeah.
Worry Darling. He damn near directed Don't Worry Darling.
Exactly, but more recently, he did got an Oscar nomination for A Star Is Born, the last Bradley Cooper
There you
movie.
go. Yeah.
And I think this is some of the best work he's ever done. Frankly, there are those sweeping shots from
Unreal.
overhead on the characters as they sort of move from room to room, which are just incredible. He's got these like big, wide frames, like especially of Bernstein's family life at home,
beautiful.
or him conducting, and it's gorgeous and it's painterly. I think it's one of the best shot films of the year.
I don't even know like what machinery he was using. Like you said, when he's got these over the top sets where there's no roof, so
Yeah.
there'll be like in one scene, and all of a sudden he enters like what's supposed to be the performance, or they'll be on a date, and she'll be like, "You just want to move on to the next scene? We don't need to be here. We're adults," and they will literally just go to a completely other place without it ever cutting. It was
Yeah.
honestly it was magical, and when you get swept up into those elements of the movie, when you realize that it really is all about their relationship, I think that's where it really falls into play. Let's talk
Yeah.
about the controversy really quick because I know a lot of people have been mentioning a lot of this, and I know you have some opinions on this, so I'm going to ask you just straight up. She's not Chilean. How did you feel?
I mean, I don't know, man. I think there's lots of actors who aren't perfectly embodying the performers that they are, and I don't know. It didn't take away from my enjoyment of the film for sure.
Ain't it funny though that no one's mentioned that? It's all about his nose.
Yeah, a lot of people like to talk about the nose, and the nose I think was noticeable in like 2 scenes in black and white early in the film, and then I completely forgot about it.
2 things.
Yeah.
Judging the makeup, what did you think? Was it ever distracting? Because I only had like 1 or 2 scenes where you can kind of see a little bit of the folds, but you got to shout out that makeup.
Yeah, no, I mean it's really like it's convincing for a lot of it. And like I said, there's only a couple moments where I even noticed it, but yeah, I mean he doesn't look like strange at all, and it does kind of, Bradley Cooper is such a familiar face, so it does kind of give his face a slightly different quality. I can imagine also for him as an actor, it helps him sort of feel like he's disappearing into the role. So
he's also very prolific. He's got a very specific look that he's had his entire life.
Yeah. I don't know. It didn't bother me, even controversy or not.
Yeah, performance-wise, I also do think that not only does it help with the performance, but he has a stature to himself. It's the way that he walks around, and he always talks like he just took
the very nasal quality to his voice. Yeah,
D or something. Yeah, and the way he just he plays with his mouth, it sits in a different way. The way that Leonard's did. I think it's a really good performance. I see some people asking in the chat if it's his or Carrie's best. No. But it's a part of the collection that's going to be their fantastic careers.
I think it'd probably make the Bradley Cooper or the Carey Mulligan Hall of Fame, but I don't know if I'd put it number 1.
Oh, yeah, it gets a mention in the montage for sure.
Yeah. It's also a wackier movie than I think most people might expect from
whimsical,
it.
Yeah,
like there's a lot of marital melodrama, but Bernstein, as you were talking about, he's kind of got this like groovy Motormouth Lothario quality to him. Like it's okay, baby, it's all right.
And isn't it Cooper, edited in that way? It's almost edited where we think it's going to be like this biopic, but in reality, it's just like there's this beautiful scene where he says when I'm about to perform and he goes in the downstroke, he blanks out until applause. And I'm like, wait, let me take the scene and look at the editing. He will literally go from one thing to another, like we were mentioning, because that's just how he remembers things. When the flow of the movie just goes from piece to piece to piece, it's because, like you're saying, he's this groovy dude, and this is his retelling of his life almost. I thought it was very effective.
Yeah, I mean, like Cooper plays him pretty broadly, and some of the line readings are kind of hilarious. There's this sequence where he and Mulligan are having a tense argument, and the backdrop of the scene is such a silly choice, but it works so well.
That balloon stole the scene. I don't want to spoil it. That balloon stole the scene.
There's also a really incredibly goofy music cue later on that I don't want to spoil. That's happening while Bernstein's driving a car. Did you find Maestro kind of funny, or did those parts not work as well for you?
It is 100% funny. This is a man who, again, getting into the relationship. This is the story about how their love and their push and pull and, what it's like to be in the limelight became a central factor. I was very surprised with supporting performance because I did not know that she was in here, but I guess she is in the trailer. Sarah Silverman plays his sister and is like not the anchor, but almost the person who lets her know, like, being in his orbit takes a lot. If you're going to be with my brother, just know, like, he's always finding muses, and this is a guy who has scenes where he tells 2 characters, he says something to the baby. You remember that? I don't want to spoil what the line is, but he's just like, yes, I've known your parents pretty well, is how I'll put it. That's funny. There are a lot of funny moments in the movie. I mean, it begins with him slapping a butt when he gets the call to come in like Tom Brady. The only reason this guy made it was because, I don't say only, but it was that really big lucky break because the conductor who was supposed to do it was sick. With no rehearsal, the man came in and killed it. I think all of that adds to what the movie is trying to say and what it's going for in its telling of these 2. And I thought it worked very well. I do think it was very funny. And I think that's what leads to some of the most emotional beats.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think there's just a lot that's really interesting about it. Obviously a lot of biopics that are about great musicians are music first and their personal lives are second in a way that almost makes the elements of the personal life feel like they're not given their full due. So this sort of does the opposite in that this is really the movie about the man and the man that he was to his wife and the man that he was to his kids and to his friends and to his lovers. And it's in the moments where we depart from the personal life, we see glimpses of his professional life. And that's one thing that I'll say, like, maybe against it, although, like, I don't like to knock films for not doing the things that the filmmakers didn't intend. but
Preach.
like I don't feel like you're going to go into this movie and get a great understanding of like Leonard Bernstein's career, or here are the
Yeah.
highlights of his life musically, or this is the piece of art that he made that makes everybody remember him. But you are going to get a sense of his spirit, like you were saying, of his soul, and the things that made him tick and the things that made him excited and about art. And I think there's something really wonderful in that as well, particularly in how Cooper portrays it. You know, like we were at TIFF, and there's so many movies at TIFF this year that are films from directed by actors, and you see a lot of them, and they just don't have the authorial eye that Bradley Cooper has. He is so intentional and so clever in how he crafts his movies. Like they are very cinematic, and they're very like powerful and moving in a way that I just think, you know, it's a special class of filmmaker. So, you know, even though he's only too deep into the career, I think we can already put him on that level with some of the guys that we get really excited talking about on this show.
I am excited to see this span out, to see this whole filmography just grow. I think it's going to be really good. Are you excited to see him do a movie where he's also not in front of the camera?
Yeah,
that
I mean, like,
will be where we really
the thing is, though, the thing is that like it is kind of fascinating to see how he directs himself, because he's good at directing himself. A lot of actors aren't always like able to do both things simultaneously.
Yeah.
But like I think he's a phenomenal performer in A Star Is Born, and he's giving a phenomenal performance in this too. So I don't know if I need to see a movie without him, but I would be first in line for it, sure.
I need to. If we're talking about directors, yeah, I need to. I need to a little bit.
He'll grow into it. He'll do it at some point for sure.
Because like you're saying, with his direction, this was clean too. Also in the scene, it was like silky black. There are several moments where he does a really good job at having scripted moments. Like it's a very like snappy. Like you were telling me when you had first seen the movie with their dialogue
Abandoned
between
Snoopy in the vestibule.
But then it feels very organic in the sense like there's this one scene where he's laying down with Carey Mulligan's character with his wife, and while they're talking, they have this whole back and forth, and it's not cutting. But then he gets like ashes on him, and he goes, "Oh," he like ad libs that I get ashes on me, and like she says no, but it's there, and I'm like, "Ooh." It makes it feel free. There's a sequence later when he's like helping somebody conduct, and he like is about to give him another cue, but then he begins and he goes, never mind, and he doesn't cut the scene because it's a one take. There are so many moments like that. There's the moment
that just
of the
feel
church.
lived in, right?
They feel lived in. There's a moment of the church scene where so freaking good when they like finally they have this hug, him and Carrie, and they say something they've been holding in their chest for a long time, right? And he's getting sweat all over her. It's like they had one take or they were going to lose it, dude. They put it all on the line. I think it's a really, really good movie. And if you don't know anything about Leonard Bernstein, if you're not really curious to see the take on this, maybe wait for it on Netflix. But if you are, I think it's shot beautifully and is a story that is worth seeing on the big screen. If you know, it's a Netflix movie. If you have it available near you, there are some shots, especially that church scene and when he's conducting the orchestra, that is worth watching.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's the thing is like, you say like whether or not you're interested in Leonard Bernstein. I don't think you necessarily even need to be that interested in him, because this is really a movie about artistry and a movie about relationships and like what it's like to be in a relationship with, as you mentioned, somebody who's constantly chasing his muses. And, you know, there's also like a bisexual panic element to the movie that's very interesting. Yeah. I think there's just a lot to recommend about it that is outside of the realm of what normally gets music biopics recommended.
True. I think A Star Is Born, whether you knew about the original or not, a little bit, but there's some, like you were mentioning, thanks to his symphonies or compositions that he's made, that I think the more you know about it, the better. Yeah. But I didn't realize the outside perspective of being a composer and then being a conductor are completely different, to the point that one is seen as child's play and the other one is like the real art. There's that scene with his dad that I thought was like pretty profound. I was like, oh dang, like this is a guy who has to balance like fun and then like, oh no, this is the serious stuff. And to him, they were the same level field. I do agree with you there. Just the artistry of how it's approached, I thought was really interesting. My final take on it though is that it's definitely a relationship movie, and once it really clicks, that he is this maestro who is like embodying everything, that everybody has to move around his orbit, but that in reality she's the maestro to him. That's when I was like, all right, Bradley, I see what you were going for here.
The line of dialogue that recurs in the film, it's great.
It's really good. So,
Yeah.
I'm curious to know people's thoughts on it. It is out on Netflix December 20th. Damn, it's pretty late. Hopefully, it's going to be in some theaters. It's supposed to be rolling out at the beginning of December.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I know it's at least playing in New York and LA, and I see that it's expanding to DC on December 1st, so maybe you'll get it in Chicago around the same time. But
Yeah.
I know I'm going to be in Florida then, and I'm looking it up, not getting it until December 8th. I'm going to have to find some weird-ass theater in Florida to see this movie in.
But when you come back, dude, or when we see each other again, I got you with the
Yeah.
Maestro. We're not voters, but we're able to get some of the merch right there. And that beautiful
There we go.
line, I think I just end it with that. A work of art does not answer questions, it provokes them. And its essential meaning is in the tension between the contradictory answers. And I think that's what he got down in Maestro.
Yeah, absolutely a beautiful movie.